The purpose of making a submission is to recount your experience of anti-Semitism. It could be on the sports field, it could be at your place of employment, it could be with your friends, it could be in a political party meeting. There's any number of places where you might have encountered anti-Semitism. It might be the conduct of somebody that you're interacting with, or it might be passing by signage or stickers or hearing particular chants. It could be a whole range of different types of behavior. It's really important that you recount to the Commission what you experienced in as clear and authentic a form as possible, using your own voice. Don't try and analyze it more broadly or think about what the framework was within which it happened. Rather, just speak from the heart. Talk about what you experienced directly. If possible, provide direct quotes of what people said to you, if the conduct was discourse, or explain what you saw and what you heard. It's really important that you give a true account and that you provide the facts. And you don't need to necessarily zoom out or talk about the bigger picture or provide your political views. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to help inform the Commission about the everyday experiences that Australian Jews are having with anti-Semitism. You don't need to be Jewish to make a submission to the Royal Commission. You might be the partner of someone who's Jewish, or you might be their colleague or their friend. If you have seen anti-Semitic conduct, regardless of where it is, then you should make a submission to the Royal Commission. It will be helpful because without a body of submissions and a body of evidence, it will be hard for the Commission to draw conclusions about systemic anti-Semitism in different sectors. The best thing to do is to keep it simple. Just explain what you saw or heard. Talk about how it made you feel, what your experience was, and what the consequences of that experience have been. So, for example, if you walked through an area of a university every day where you saw anti-Semitic graffiti, that might have made you feel a particular way prior to going into the lecture. If you are online engaging in an online chat and you're consistently targeted with anti-Semitic messaging, that may encourage you to disengage from the chat and opt out. So there's all sorts of different ways in which anti-Semitism might impact you. And everybody's different, but it is important to share those experiences with the Royal Commission. We have a link on the ECAJ website, which contains a guide about how to make a submission, and it provides information. The other thing that you could tell people about is what the reaction was when you experienced the anti-Semitic conduct. For example, if you're a parent of a child at a school who experienced anti-Semitic conduct at the school, did the principal step in? Was there support from the school to try and resolve the issue? Did the school introduce educational programming on anti-Semitism to try and ensure that this type of conduct didn't occur again? That's the kind of information that it would be helpful for you to provide to the Commission. If you felt that there was no response whatsoever, that's also important information. Many people over the last few years particularly have experienced frustration or delays or unsatisfactory outcomes in complaints processes. And that's the kind of information that, again, would be helpful. I know that many of you have been concerned about whether or not you can make a submission confidentially. You can. You can choose either to be anonymous in your submission, in which case the Commission won't be able to contact you and ask you further questions, or you may choose for your submission to be confidential. So in other words, you may choose to tell the Commission who you are and what happened to you, and even name the people that were involved, but you may ask for your submission to be confidential. Alternatively, you may choose for your submission to be published. It's really your call. Only you can assess what the best call is in that situation. But, I would say that it's helpful for the Commission to be able to verify information and to understand where it's coming from. And therefore, I would encourage you to make a submission in whatever way you see is appropriate for your circumstances. If you require legal support, if you're having a dilemma about whether or not you should make a submission, for example, let's say that you've signed a non-disclosure agreement following the resolution of an anti-Semitic incident in the workplace, you may have a genuine question about whether or not you should commit that information to the form of a submission. There will be legal support services available to help guide you in that. The Jewish Centre for Law and Justice will be providing legal support for individuals who require it in order to make a submission. When you make a submission, you won't necessarily be called upon to provide evidence to the Royal Commission. In fact, only a very small proportion of people who do make a submission will be called upon to give evidence. And if you do not want your submission to be public, then you needn't worry about the possibility of being called publicly to give evidence. At this stage, what you're doing is you're providing the Commission with information which will help them get to the bottom of what the causes are of anti-Semitism, and also how institutions and organizations have or have not responded to anti-Semitism in recent times. Please do make a submission if you have something to say about anti-Semitic conduct that you've experienced or that someone you know has experienced. Please do provide a copy to ECAJ, because we collect data on anti-Semitic incidents, and it's important that we know the scale of the problem and how it's manifesting. And please, if you have any questions that require legal support, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much and good luck.